The United States has imposed tariffs up to 50% on Indian exports starting today. US President Trump says 25% of this is specifically in response to India continuing to buy Russian oil despite the sanctions. Now, this move will impact trade and strategic ties between the two nations. To understand this better, we are joined by Kranthi Bathini, equity strategist at Wealth Mill Securities Private Limited. Mr. Bathini, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Let me start by talking about the 25% penalty that's there. Now, the US is calling these penalties a response to India's continued trade with Russia. But let me ask you, has the Western nations themselves completely stopped businesses with Russia? As per reports, EU still imported 92 billion euros worth of goods from Russia in 2024, mainly LNG and essential raw materials. Is Washington applying the rules or the tariffs selectively?
Yes, it's completely unfair. Even in fact, the Russian imports are concerned. Even China, one of the largest importer of Russian oil, as you rightly mentioned, European Union, they import around 92 billion worth of gas and other critical materials. For the matter of fact, still as on date, the US is importing from Russia some critical materials and chemicals like palladium and uranium, and also some chemicals and fertilizers as on date, mentioning, and these imports are not comes under their tariffs, and they mention that these are all the critical material where US needed from Russia. But where the India as a nation with 150 billion population, when we are trying to import the critical energy resources, they are trying to impose on tariffs on India, which is unfair, and also at the same point of time, this is just like arm twisting the Indian economy at this point of time. That's what I feel. It's completely unfair, but it do create some kind of a knee-jerk reaction in the medium to short term. But how the US and India relationships that are going to take place in the coming days, that is crucial for the global economy.
Right, Kranthi, moving on. Now, US has a trade deficit of $45 billion with India, and tariffs might also be about protecting domestic interests, not just sanctions. What do you have to say about that? What could be the possible explanation for these selective tariffs?
With respect to the selective tariffs are concerned, in fact, these tariffs came as a clear surprise. Just a couple of months back, India is trying for most favorable nation in terms of the tariffs are concerned, which need a congressional approval. But whereas within the couple of weeks' time, the entire narrative is changed, and India from subject to 25% tariff, it went to one of the highest in the world. So this is more political in nature at this point of time rather than the economics that's playing at this point of time. By and large, India with a population of 50% of the farmers, agrarian economy, which is completely dependent upon agriculture. So India have the more utmost interest to protect the interest of the farmers. That's what India trying to do with respect to the US agricultural imports into India. But that can be negotiated over a period of time. But the complete surprise of the US administration imposing the additional tariff of 25% and taking it to 50%, it seems surprised the world, not only India. But this is all boiled down to the political reasons at this point of time. US is on the peace talks that's going on between US and Russia is concerned. US administration is trying to promise some kind of investments in Russia. So that is one more surprising thing. So what I believe is once the negotiations between US and Russia progresses, these kind of temporary tariffs can be withdrawn at some point of time. But definitely it's going to create some kind of a pressure on India in the medium to short term. And can be perceived as a strain on India and US long-term relationship.
Right now, Trump says these additional tariffs are because India still imports Russian oil, but China still remains the highest buyer. China buys 2.2 million barrels of Russian oil per day compared to India's 1.6 million, yet faces no penalties. When J.D. Vance, the vice president, was asked about this, he justified by saying they already have sanctions on Russia but that's not for buying Russian oil. Is US avoiding confrontation with Russia with targeting India as an easier partner? What do you think?
For US at this point of time, India seems to be the low-hanging fruit and trying to use as a punching bag to make some kind of a control on Russia. That's what the US administration is trying to do. As you rightly mentioned, still as on date, China imports highest amount of Russian oil. But the China and US trade relationship is concerned, it's quite strong in terms of the bilateral trade is concerned. Each nation depends upon our dependence is very high. The China's dependence on Russia, China's dependence on US and US dependence on China is very high. So that is the reason right now the focus for the US administration is more on India because of the trade negotiations and trade deals and trade quantum is very less. That is the reason the main focus of US is cornering India at this point of time for a short-term gains. I can call it this as a short-term diplomatic gains.
Right. So this is obviously going to affect the trade relations. Now, what are the other options that India might consider to keep up with these hefty tariffs?
One thing is India has to increase the domestic consumption. The focus has to be increasing the domestic consumption. At the same point of time, we have been making different trade deals. India has signed nearly 13 trade deals in the recent past. So we had the UK trade deal, and we are signing the deal with Europe, and also we can enlarge our trade corridors towards Russia and also towards Africa. One of the big opportunity that also throws. So on a longer term basis, India need to focus on other territories in respect to Asia, and also the BRIC bloc is concerned. This is where India has to focus on more about diversifying its export. And as India as a nation, we tend to learn the things when there is a critical external shocks that do comes. So this the current tariff knee-jerk kind of a reaction will definitely make the Indian administration to accelerate the reform process in India and taxation process in India, try to attract more about the foreign direct investments at this point of time. At the same point of time, increasing the consumption, the domestic consumption. Still, our per capita consumption levels are very low. So there is a lot of headroom where we can increase our per capita consumption. That can suffice whatever be the hit we are taking with respect to US trade is concerned. But there are certain sectors like the gems and jewelries, some extent of textile. These are the sectors that are going to get impacted in the medium to short term.
Yeah, right. Talking about the sectors that will be impacted, can you break it down for our viewers? What sectors will be hit the hardest? Reports suggest pharma, 40% of India's US exports, textiles and steel could take a big hit. What do you think?
At the initial stage of the tariffs are concerned, we can see the largest hit sector is going to be textile and gems and jewelries, and also the aquaculture, the shrimp industry is concerned. That's going to hit directly immediately right now. With respect to the other sectors are concerned, there can be negotiations, and also with respect to pharma is concerned, Indian every establishments are approved by US FDA. So I don't think so in a hurry. Okay, they're trying to replace these Indian pharma establishments in a hurry because still we have the edge in terms of the pharma industry is concerned. So I don't think so pharma is going to get impacted immediately. We need to clearly watch how the things are going to pan out in the next couple of months' time. I would be neutral on pharma because these are the generic essential drugs, and replacing with Indian pharma US FDA norms with the other country, it's not easy. It's not a overnight process. So I'm quite neutral with respect to pharma as a sector is concerned.
Right, like you said, we need to keep a lookout in the coming few months. So, do you think there could be some room for negotiation still, or can we consider the dialogues closed and we'll go ahead with 50% of tariffs, or there is any room for negotiation? So.
Definitely in negotiations there can be, these negotiations have been taking twists and turns. Look at the way the trade deals have executed with Japan. At one hand, President Trump came up outright and said he got frustrated with Japan in terms of the negotiation is concerned, and that made the Japanese administration completely disappointed. But end of the day, they could able to complete a trade deal. And the way, look at how the twists and turns that taking place between US and China. So I don't think so. There is still light end of the tunnel. Okay, the don't pursue that this is just the closure of trade talks. Who knows? The kind of maverick and outspoken Trump, he will come and say and reduce the tariffs in the days to come. Okay, anything can be possible in these kind of volatile and diplomatic relationships that's taking place in these geopolitical conditions.
Just months ago, PM Modi was in Washington signing tech and defense deal. Now, how will these tariffs affect India-US ties?
Yeah, definitely some kind of a sentimental impact is there with respect to the trade we have with India, and Indian companies are the largest investors in US aviation. That's what the US Indian Indigo and Air India have been ordering for the US aircraft in the coming days, and the Biden administration have thanked Indian corporates and Indian economy, Indian government for placing such high orders. So there can be some kind of a sentimental impact because of these unusual nature that has raised in these trade negotiations. But at a deliberation as the bilateral trade talks that progresses, there can be some kind of a smoothness with respect to all these trade deals that's taking place. Remember, these trade deals are very essential for US. Right now, India can have some kind of a aviation partnership with US and France, with Europe and France. But for US, these are extremely crucial in the longer term basis, and I don't think so Trump will create such kind of a damage for the US corporations. So there can be a time we can witness there will be a deliberations with respect to the trade discussions that are going to take place.
Will US businesses also feel the heat? Like we know that Indian businesses exporting to US will of course feel the heat of these heavy tariffs, but what will happen to US businesses? They rely on Indian IT and pharma. Won't the tariff raise their cost too?
Definitely. Who are going to pay these tariffs? The US consumer is going to pay this tariff. So definitely we need to wait and watch in next couple of months how the inflationary conditions in US that's going to take place, and also the unemployment issue which US is facing. So these are the implications that are going to have impact on US also. So it is well balanced for the US economy also. The US administration is closely watching these developments. So definitely it's going to have some kind of an impact on US economy. Just when Trump administration taking the charge at White House, there was a complete euphoria with respect to US economic growth pace, and US economy outpacing the growth. But 3-4 months later, look at the condition today. Everybody talking about the US recession and all. So the narratives have been quickly changing at this point of time, and and we need to watch how things are going to move closely, because the changing narratives one need to have keep a close eye at this point of time.
So right. So you're saying that there will be repercussions on both ends, right? So finally, for the people in India, will these tariffs impact jobs, raise prices, and make it harder for startups planning to enter the US market?
With respect to the startups, anyone trying to look US as a lucrative opportunity at this point of time, there can be some kind of a short-term bump at this point of time for the Indian startups focusing on US in terms of the products are concerned, but services, I don't think so. It's going to have a greater impact. But with respect to the Indian textile and gems and jewelries, these industry employs a greater extent of entry-level jobs, and these jobs are a threat in the medium to short term. So by increasing the pace of domestic consumption, we can reduce and we can tackle that problem, mitigate that problem in the medium to long term. But definitely, because these are the unusual times and unusual implication that India is facing at this point of time, so some kind of impact cannot be ruled out at this point of time in terms of the jobs in these particular industries.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bathini. Thank you for interacting with us. This has been really insightful. With this, we come to the end of this segment. We'll continue tracking this story closely. Stay tuned to Moneycontrol for more global updates. Thank you for watching.